We're going to be speaking about the legacy of women in voting. And so we have a very special panel, as you all probably saw in the information leading to tonight's call, but it is a live format for interaction. So please go ahead and post any questions or comments that you have regarding tonight's topic. For the sake of time, I want to jump right in to introducing our founder, and president of operations. This is her baby, BtheNow, as a movement and us in action. And so this is just one of many pillars of action and activism on being informed and educated and voters in action. And so I want to turn it over to our illustrious and our most knowledgeable, most dedicated Mrs. Cheryl Neal.
Thank you so much, Kay. I'm gonna have to pay you for that. I appreciate it. Look, I have to give it back to you, Kay, because Kay she's out of Dallas, Texas, and she's an extremely busy individual. She runs a business. She is a coach and a philanthropist and a mother. So she's doing so many amazing things as women do. And I just have to throw it back to her because she's dedicated so much time to this call. So I want to give it up to Kay. Thank you so much, Kay. And I also, before I get started, I want to thank Big Al, the legendary DJ out of St. Louis. He's not a female, but he does lift a lot of females up with his music. So Al, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to get on this call and to listen to what we have to say. So I'm gonna give it up to you as well.
You're very welcome.
There are several individuals who, help BtheNow, be the organization that it is. We have a lot of amazing women and men, but today I'm gonna have to just really focus on the women. Sorry, man. But I want to thank Erica Lash, who's out of Washington, D.C. She's also a philanthropist, a businesswoman. She's on the call. I want to thank Janice Berry out of Omaha, Nebraska, who helps as well, and Raven Petty, who is here locally. She's my right hand when it comes to a lot of stuff. So I want to thank her so much. And also attorney Lisa Johnson-Tonkins, who's on the call. You'll hear from her a little bit later. And so many other amazing women who have in some way, somehow participated, donated, what have you. I just want to thank all you all for that. And as Kay stated, yes, I'm co-founder of BtheNow. And for those of you who are on the call for the first time, I'm just going to give you a quick background of who we are. BtheNow is an organization that was birthed out of a dark time in 2020 when we were dealing with COVID. We were dealing with a lot of different riots and protesting and senseless killings. And, it was just a dark time and a lot of people were confused and didn't know what was truly going on. And so I had a conversation with a few people because we had, a very important election coming up. And some people were saying, well, I don't know if I'm going to vote because I don't know if my vote matters. And I couldn't believe it. I was blown away because out of all of this stuff that was going on, this is what I was hearing from individuals. And so I got distraught and I called a good friend of mine and said, look, it's time for us to do something. And he got me on the phone with several people, and then that phone call turned into another phone call, and then BtheNow was birthed. So, our mission is to motivate and educate the community to use the power of their vote to make a difference. As we saw in this past election, our vote does matter. And, some people, at first they felt that they should vote every 4 years, and they're realizing that they need to vote more than that. So what we're doing is trying to bring education and awareness to the voting process and have fun as we're doing it. We know our kids are our future, and so we need to start educating them at an early age to be our future leaders. So if you haven't already, go to BtheNow, BtheNow.org, check out our website. You can go to the Be Informed piece and check your voter registration. They are purging every week. So just make sure that, you are registered to vote. And with some of these upcoming elections, we need to make sure that we vote before April. not vote, I'm sorry. We need to make sure that we're registered before April, just so that we don't miss any of these primaries that are coming up. Also, you can also text BtheNow to 55469 just for weekly updates, monthly updates on what BtheNow is doing in the community. So again, thank you all so much. I am extremely excited and honored that you all are spending this evening with us. And now, we have 4 amazing speakers that I'm going to introduce. But before we do that, I want to show a quick video that pays homage to us women when it comes to the vote. Ms. Jones?
You're broken down and tired of living life on the merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains, we gon' walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, I like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. The silence isn't quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Move mountains, bring it to its feet. Move mountains. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000.
Thank you, Ms. Jones, for that video. That was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. So, every time I hear that song, it does something to me. It pierces my soul, because women have been the catalyst in this space for so long. We have been the outcomes of so many elections, and is going to continue. So now I'm just really excited because I want to introduce 4 of our amazing speakers tonight. What I'm most proud about is we have so many different dynamics. So we have the older but young seasoned individual. We have the young individual who's still in college. We have women who are, in between in that, 30 to 40, 50 range that's going to be speaking tonight. And they come from different experiences. And that's why I'm really excited to hear from each of them. So I'm going to read each of their bios. I'm trying to be as short as possible, but I really want you guys to know the accomplishments of these women. So first up is Congresswoman Yvonne Johnson. She's a native of Greensboro, North Carolina. She attended Bennett College for Women, and during her time at Bennett, she marched and was arrested for protests during the sit-in movement at the downtown Woolworth stores. She earned a master's degree in philosophy from North Carolina A&T. psychology in North Carolina A&T, and has 4 children and 8 grandchildren and 1 great-great-grandchild. She is the executive director of a nonprofit and has been a member of the Greensboro City Council since 1993. She served 1 term as mayor of Greensboro. Check this out. She was the first African-American and the 2nd female to ever have that post. So she made history, the first African-American mayor of Greensboro, North Carolina, and that says a lot. She's also, she was married to her husband, Walter, for 56 years until his death last year, in July last year. She is a founding member of the Greensboro Drifters and served as the youngest national president of the National Drifters Incorporated, and is a golden member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And must I add that she is still, after her time as mayor of Greensboro, she has been on the council for 11 years. So that's saying something about her and her character, that the people are continuously voting her in. So that is the first dynamic speaker that we have. The second speaker that we have is Lisa Johnson-Tonkins. She's a native of Greensboro, North Carolina. And if Johnson sounds familiar, because she is the daughter of Yvonne Johnson. She's married and has 3 children. Lisa is a proud graduate of North Carolina A&T, where she earned a BA in public relations. She's also earned her JD from North Carolina Central University School of Law, and began her legal career practicing law with her late father, Walter T. Johnson Jr. Lisa is a former prosecutor and now serves as the elected clerk of court and probate judge. Lisa is involved heavily with the Clerks Conference and the Greensboro Bar Association, and she is currently in a race for running for her seat again. So Lisa's doing some amazing things. Now, the next speaker that we have is State Representative CaMia Hobson Jackson. She holds a BS in Computer Information Systems from Albany State University. As a project manager, she has been responsible for budgeting millions of dollars for Fortune 500 companies. She is currently a senior cybersecurity project manager at AT&T. CaMia is an immediate past chair of the Flint River Habitat for Humanity Board of Directors, and has served on several other executive boards, including Leadership Albany, Downtown Development Authority, and the Daugherty County School System. In addition, CaMia is an avid volunteer for various service agencies across Georgia, but is most passionate about working with the National Alliance on Mental Illness and on behalf of abused children. During the onset of COVID-19 pandemic, Albany became a Georgia hotspot with hospitals overflowing and rampant deaths. The school system was faced with no longer being able to provide meals for children in the district. So CaMia enlisted her House colleagues to help raise funds to provide PPE to the school system, local nursing homes, and daycares. This act of kindness led to her being named the 2020 Rice Awards Civil Servant of the Year. CaMia is married to Derek Jackson, State Representative, District 64, and they have 7 amazing young adults and 1 grandson. And our last amazing speaker is Victoria Chyrack. Victoria is currently at Spelman College, and she is over the youth Gwinnett Youth Program of the NAACP. This leader in our future, she has a very long and illustrious resume already, bio already. I'm going to shorten it a little bit, Victoria, and you can go a little bit more into it, but I'm going to start with Spelman because she's had a lot of awards in high school, but right now at Spelman College, she's a member of the AUC Orchestra, a Spell House Pre-Law Society. She serves as the Spelman Liaison and SGA representative of the Afro Latino Dad AUC Community Organization. She is serving as the secretary of the Spelman Spanish Club and has served as the head of event planning for the AUC Vibes, hopefully I said that right, Caribbean Student Organization. Victoria has also earned membership in the Spelman College chapter of the National Society of Collegiate Scholars, as well as the Spelman College chapter of Alpha Lambda Delta National Honor Society. Outside of school, Victoria takes her own initiatives of servanthood, as she is a volunteer of Liz Girls Educational Social Legacy Foundation, has volunteered with Family Promise of Gwinnett, Delmar Gardens of Gwinnett, and is an alumni of the Gwinnett 101 Citizens Academy. She is also the president, as I said, of the Gwinnett NAACP Youth Group, and is currently working to grow the impact and legacy of the youth. Whew, that was a lot, but I wanted you guys to understand who you are listening to on this call. And so what I want to do is I'm going to ask the first question, and this question is to each of our guests, but I want to go in this order. When I ask the question, I would like Councilwoman Yvonne Johnson to speak first. Then I would like State Representative CaMia Jackson to answer the question. Then I would like Lisa Johnson-Tonkins, and then Victoria Chyrack. So my first question is this: we are all called to be active, but few take on such strong leadership roles in activism. What was the ignition for you in becoming change agents in your community?
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be with you.
Yes.
I think for me, it was the belief that nothing is impossible. And I don't have much fear of anything. Sometimes I tell young people this when I speak to them. Sometimes things come your way that you've never thought about, never even entertained. And sometimes it makes people a little frightened to even venture into that. When I had the opportunity to run, I decided that's what I was going to do. Had never thought about it, had never in all my life thought, well, maybe one day I'll run for office. But it came, I did it. I didn't think I'd win, but I prepared myself well. And lo and behold, I won. So it's stepping out of your comfort zone, and it's having enough courage to put yourself out there and believe in yourself and believe you can win.
Awesome. Awesome. CaMia?
Good evening, everyone. I would say for me, it was watching my mother. My mother was a 42-year employee of the Dougherty County school system as an educator, and then she became a principal. She's now retired, and is still giving back by working at one of the local prisons as the prison librarian. But just watching her traverse through her career and on her path of not only doing her job, but going above and beyond her job, watching her go to students' homes to, talk to parents, to take them food, to take them clothing if they didn't have. So I got to witness that as an early age. And as I got older and went to college at Albany State University, I started watching the amazing women of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, of which I'm a member, watching them do the things that they were doing in our community as well. And I started, I just, service just continued to be in the forefront for me, and started watching all of the wonderful things that they were doing, not only on the Albany State campus, but across our city. And it birthed my desire to continue to serve and give back to my community. So mine started at an early age and continues to this day.
Awesome, awesome. Lisa?
So hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Johnson-Tonkins, and I do believe that either you're going to be a part of the solution or part of the problem. And so I have really good role models in my mother, had a wonderful role model in my father, who were community leaders, even before they ran for their respective offices. But one of the things for me is in the judicial system, I just saw some things that were broken. And, that would include communication. That would include just how people interact with one another. And so I just felt like I could be a positive change agent for the office in which I currently hold. And so I stepped out on faith. And like my mother, I wasn't sure that I was going to win because I was running against a 16-year incumbent. So I won the primary, and then I won the general election, and here I am. And so I just believe that if you have a passion for people, a passion for service, then it makes it that much easier to step out and try to help others.
Awesome. Awesome. Victoria?
Okay, hi everyone. Victoria Chyrack, by the way. So I feel like I've had the opportunity to witness a lot of powerful women around me. I've had those influences around me. And like yourselves, I think we all at some point make a decision, well, we don't see anyone else in this position, so like, why not us? If we see the problem, why are we waiting for someone else to do something? And I think especially coming from Generation Z, we are more of, I guess you could call it an impatient generation, and we want to change, we want to make changes, and we want to be heard. So I definitely feel like I don't have to wait for anyone else to make the move if I have this, if I feel that I'm called to do something particular in a community.
Wow. That's awesome.
Wow. What amazing responses. Thank you so much, ladies. If that isn't motivation enough, I'm sure the responses that we get as we continue on will hopefully bolster people's responses. So I have a question for the panelists as well. So my question is, what are you doing, or what have you done to pave the road for the next woman who we hope will be your successor?
You want the same order? I'm mentoring 2 young ladies. This is my last time running for council. And if I win, it'll be 4 years, but I am mentoring 2 young ladies and one African-American male, and they're all of them African-American, but I want someone to have the courage to do what I did. I want someone who loves people, whose ego is in check. And for me, that's important. Humility is a very important aspect. And so I'm mentoring 3 people, and hopefully 1 or 2 of them will run and win. That's what I'm doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Amazing.
So for me, mentoring young women has always been a passion of mine. I actually started in high school. I joined the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. And so I was assigned a couple of young ladies to work with while I was in high school, and have continued to do that. Once I got into my career in IT, I started talking to young ladies about entering the IT space, because typically when I first started out, I was, of course, the only Black female, the youngest. And especially as I got into management, that became a really big issue for a lot of the white men that I worked with. So I had to endure all of that, but I was still steadfast and trying to ensure that other young ladies could come behind me and obtain the same degrees and the same career path and continue to excel. Fast forward to where I am now. Well, back in 2018, when I ran for city commission, I was not successful in that run, but at that time, I started enlisting students at women specifically at Albany State University who were in the political science majors, and also the SGA students as well. Started working with them, ended up running again for the state house, won that seat, hired one of the mentees from when I was initially running for city commission. Hired her as my legislative aide. She now works for Stacey Abrams. So, just, pouring into those young women. And then, well, actually, one's working for Stacey Abrams, one is working, two are actually working at the White House right now. They're working for senators there. So, just giving them the opportunity to work in my spaces from the legislative perspective has been, a phenomenal thing. And I just most recently brought on an intern from the political science department at Georgia State University, and she's working with me now and doing a phenomenal job. So it has always been a passion of mine to make sure that I reach back and grab, some young women to be in whatever spaces I'm in, because we have to create that legacy. We unfortunately see so many of our heroes and sheroes who don't necessarily create that succession plan. And I don't want to be one of those people. I want to always make sure that I'm reaching back and grabbing as many young women as I can to move with me and surpass me if they so choose. But we owe that to our society.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
So for me, because of the type of role that I'm in, I have 150 employees. And so when I have young women, I do try to encourage them to either, if they don't have their degree, to go back to school. If they do have their degree, I try to encourage them to get a higher degree. And I just kind of talk to them and encourage them. I do believe that as women, we owe it to one another to really uplift one another. And I was just talking to my mother and one of her friends yesterday, if you see one of our queens with their crown crooked, we should, not make fun of them, but help them straighten it out. Because when we do that, we uplift them and ourselves, and that, we show the next generation how it should be done. So for me, I have all boys. So the way that I try to encourage women is at work. I too am Alpha Kappa Alpha. And so we also have a mentor program through our chapter. And so, I participate in that. And so that's how I try to give back.
Thank you. Again, amazing, amazing. Victoria.
Yeah, so when I talk about the impact that I've left, the legacy that I've left, I do recall my junior year of high school, I organized our Black History Month event, chapel kind of thing. They had done it previously, but it wasn't done in a way where you could see they kind of just spit it out quickly, and it was on the last day of the month on the 28th. And I was just like, no, I want to do something that was cared for. I want to do something intentional, something that took time, something where I can involve the president of my school, the principals of my school, get them to come and speak and to show their faces at this event. And I also want to make it inclusive. Like I went to a predominantly white school. So of course, sometimes when you go into Black History Month and you position white people in the position of like an opposer or as outside of that story, automatically you're going to have a lot of people that stop listening. So my issue that I needed to solve in order to leave impact was, how do I make it inclusive, and how do I make it so that everyone feels a part of this community and everyone feels visible, audible? How do I do that? So solving that problem and then putting on the event, and then now leaving behind a legacy and kind of like a blueprint so that they still do that chapel. They still follow those things that I put in place there. So for me, that's just, it's still really early. I still have a lot of more legacy to leave, but that was a pretty good start for me.
Thank you, Victoria. Wow, I'm right now, I'm wishing I was young enough to be mentored by any of you ladies and be able to step into your shoes. So if you're not motivating anybody else, know that your stories have motivated me so far. I can't wait to hear what else you guys have to say.
Amazing, amazing. Well, we have a few more questions for our illustrious panel. And I actually want to pivot to one from the chat because I think it's amazing that we have our male counterparts also joining, and knowing that it does take us as a full community to kind of walk hand in hand. And Mr. Rodney Neal, uh, in true Mr. Neal fashion, I love this guy, acknowledges the fact that women have always taken the front lines fighting for the rights of women, family, and community. And that being said, which do each of you see as the number one battle that men can be on that front line fighting for you, and why?
Well, I guess I'm blessed. I know I'm blessed. There's no question about it. My husband always was that kind of man. He was never anything but supportive, helpful. He wasn't challenged in any negative way by what I was doing. He was just there to support. When I was in college, in Bennett College, I had a person I called my brother. He was like a brother to me, and he was a big part of the civil rights movement here in North Carolina. He's since gone on to glory, but he was that kind of person as well. So they exist. I think we have to work a little harder to get them to take the front line and stand beside us. They don't necessarily need to stand in front of us, but to stand beside us and to be there and to support and to be happy to support. So I think we do have some work to do in those areas. But unfortunately, the person that called me to run the first time, I was in Hawaii on vacation, was a male. He was a minister. I had worked with him, and he said, when you come home, you need to run for office because you've done this and you've done that. And he was one of my biggest supporters. So they exist. We just have to work harder to get more of them out there.
And I definitely agree with that. We do have to do more of that. And I will also say, Ms. Johnson, that, and I'm not just saying this because he's mine, but I will say that my husband, Derek, is that kind of man as well. Even before we started dating, I always admired the way that, in the House. So on the House side, we have 180 of us on the Democratic side, and I'm sorry, and on the Democratic and Republican side, and there are about 80 or so of us on the Democratic side. And there are quite a few women, and unfortunately, there have been a number of times in the House that we as Black women have been disrespected or treated unfairly and what have you. And I will say that, like I said, even before we were dating, Derek was always the first man to stand beside us and stand with us. Sometimes he was the only male standing with us, and that was very admirable. And we need more men like that who will be willing to stand up for us, and whatever fights or issues we have, as long as they are good and decent and in decent order, fight for them, because sometimes we need that extra support. We also need that extra, we may need that extra voice. Yes, we are a powerful force to be reckoned with as women, but sometimes we do need the support of men to help us push some of our initiatives and some of our needs across the line. And we just have to, encourage more men to do that. Men need to encourage more other men to do that as well. I think that's one of the ways that we can get more support too, is if men, share with each other and encourage each other to get behind us and help support us.
So I agree with everything that has been said thus far. I too have been very fortunate to be married to a supportive man and husband. But what I would say is, for those who are wanting to know what more they can do, I would say we do really need men to listen. And listen truly without responding, sometimes just so they can understand where we're coming from and don't feel like they always have to fix it because, you know, truthfully, we probably already have the fix in our mind. We just need for you to be there to give us that little push to help us in the situation in which we need your help. But, you know, I think that we are all collectively better when we're working together rather than working against one another. And so I would just encourage men and women to learn how to work with one another, Just want to make sure I cleared that up, with one another better. And I think that that would help us tremendously.
I think one of the things I've noticed from observation was that society in general, I think it functions better if we have the best person in the job doing that position. I don't think that necessarily applies to skin color or to ethnicity or to gender or to sexuality, whatever it is. I feel like the person that is best suited for the job should be doing that. And I think the common denominator that all of these women were mentioning was just in general taking a position of empathy and just listening, just sometimes stepping back and sometimes giving the mic to someone else is taking a position of leadership in general. So that's what I think.
Amazing answers. And I just from I guess a non-panelist perspective, I just know we talk a lot about here in the organization about women just kind of being a lot of the times and historically the leaders in some of these movements, whether recognized or not, and just some of the challenges, particularly in certain demographics for men on, you know, taking those leads as voters as well. And being active in the communities and just some of the struggles that you might see happening in that way. Deidre Calloway wants to ask though, as you guys have on your own taken that lead, right? How have you all navigated some power structures that we know are just kind of exist? We're talking about obviously glass ceilings being broken just amongst the four of you all, right? Even after all of this time, our video definitely illustrated all of the ceilings or the cracks and holes that have been punctured in it, but it does still exist. I think for that in many folks' opinions. And so how have you all had to navigate these power structures? And as she says, being powerful without alienating or upsetting that said power structure. And Ms. Deidre, if I have read it wrong or with some other intent, you just let me know and you can unmute yourself as well. And that this is for any of you all, you don't all have to answer, but any of you all who do want to answer that question.
Well, for me, I was known as the hugging mayor of Greensboro because when I went to places, my family was a hugging family. So I just hugged people. I didn't have to know them. They were human beings. They were God's human beings. And so I just would hug them. And I've always refused to be anybody but who I am. I always did my homework. I always knew the intricate details of what I was trying to do. And I think that's important to do your homework. But I was always me. And I was always, I'm always humble. And I listen very well to people. So many times people would call and they'd be angry and upset and I'd listen. And I would say, you know, I don't see it quite that way, but I respect the way you see it. And they would thank me and I could put my signs when I ran in their yards and so forth. So I think really being who you are, being authentic, being a person who really does their homework and knows the issue they are talking about have been very helpful for me personally.
And for me, I'd say from working in a white male dominated society, well, with my IT career and I guess in the political realm as well. I mean, it's very much still the Republican white male environment, but in both of those instances, especially early on, coming out of college and quickly moving into leadership and management roles. For me, I think it was and always has been just being respectful, but also knowing what it is I need to know so that I can always combat any kind of anytime anyone tries to come to me and take away just take away my credibility and my knowledge, or question my knowledge. And that's always been very helpful. I think also just, being someone who's always been approachable. I think that, because of all of the racism that I've had to endure, especially in the IT world, as a young Black female, I think, for just trying to dispel some of the myths that a lot of the white men I've worked with over the years, just dispelling those myths that they may have thought they had, and actually giving them an opportunity to know me has been very helpful. And then also, and there were some that were just adamant that they were just going to be who they were. And I was adamant that I was going to be who I am. And we just got along to get along. So I had to also take that into consideration. But I think that, at the end of the day, just being approachable and being respectful and demanding my respect has garnered me the ability to navigate through those issues pretty successfully.
Did the other two want to respond, or did you guys want to move on to the? You're on
Well,
mute, Yvonne. Oh,
I would just say that, when you're grounded within yourself and you, as they both have said, do your homework, know your stuff, it makes it easier to be able to navigate. And, I have had some situations, especially in my job, where I have been questioned and I guess I'm trying to choose my words correctly, but judges have tried to chastise me about the way I run my office. And, I listen intently and I shake my head. And then, I usually will just state my position again. And, but I'm always very respectful. I think most of us on this call are persons of color, and we already have to navigate between two worlds anyway. And so having that experience also helps to be able to navigate through a white male dominated world for me. So I think that you just have to not overreact and just respectfully react and stand firm to your belief. Yeah.
yes, I'm hearing a theme here.
I want to also add something as well. And with all of the things we just talked about, also working in environments with other Black females too has been, there have been some challenges there. And I just think that we as women need to continue to have spaces like this where we can feed off of each other and support each other, because we've already talked about all of the challenges that we've had, but it doesn't help us when our sisters are fighting us as well. So I think that we just need to continue to build bonds amongst ourselves and navigate in a world of sisterhood, in no matter what arena we're in.
Absolutely. And such a patriarchal hole that we've already in, that we are born and kind of raised in this habit of competition over collaboration, right? So good for you, and all of you all keeping that as a consciousness, because I think that that is what begets having the next generation feeling like they can take up that torch as well. Victoria, I didn't know if you wanted to respond to that, but we do have another question. Did you have something for that?
I was just gonna say, in terms of the power structure, I think like with me being a woman, with me being Black, and then also with me being a younger woman,
Yeah,
I am really facing a power structure.
yeah.
But I think I understand how was interesting to me that everyone said they wouldn't react and how they would just kind of go about it in a calmer way. But I find like almost to be heard, I need to be bolder and I need to be a little bit more loud and a little bit more willing to not care as much of hurting someone's feelings just because I feel like my space, just being in my space, is almost disrespectful to many people. Like just the space that I'm taking is almost disrespectful to them. So just for me, I just looked at it a little bit differently, just knowing the extent of the power structure that stands against me in a way, you know. So
I love that. I mean, my takeaway from that, is watching, ladies that are my peers and someone that would be my elder and someone that would be my daughter, and how that all forms together, and how you can go from being the hugger to being, hey, this is my lane, that's your lane, to being, you know what, this is my space. And I just love how that comes together. I don't know if that's the movie y'all just watched. That was my takeaway. I have a question from State Representative Mr. Derrick Jackson. He has two, but I want to see if I can get to at least one. As women continue to push our society forward, that is echoed again from our male counterparts, there are areas in our society that continue to have headwinds, such as equal wages, double standards in politics, corporate America, et cetera. These are the things that you guys actually mentioned. What steps do you take to mitigate these double standards?
Let me give you an example. I don't confront in a nasty way or a threatening way, but I confront. We were looking for a city manager some years ago, and the mayor at that time was a white male. And we would call people in, interview them, go in a private room and talk about them. There was one African-American woman who applied. And when we went in to talk about her, this mayor said, well, she was articulate. I said, I am so sick of you saying things like that about African Americans who are educated. You didn't say it about the white man. And so I just made that example. Well, it got to him, and he heard me because he came to my office the next day. I made him wait for a little while before I saw him, but he came to my office the next day to say how sorry he was, and he wasn't aware how biased that was. Mm-hmm. So I do confront. I will say that is bias. That is a racial statement, and I don't do it in a way that people should necessarily feel like I was acting ugly to them. But I do confront, and I think it's our right and something that we should do is to confront that kind of thing when it comes into our space.
Absolutely. I think that we have just been in our society, whether from our racial differences, our ethnicity differences, and also with our gender, right? Hence the Me Too movement. If you hear something, say something, right? And to have that as an obligatory measure to actually, as you say, Victoria, hold the space and speak up. Did anyone else have a response on some things that they, personally take?
I was just going to mention, the wages. We do know that, and this unfortunately still happens to this day. But we know back in the day, women made way more than women made way less than men. And I learned to become an advocate for myself in terms of my wages when I took my first job out of college. It was an IT company, and it was a marketing firm, but I was in the IT department. And when I learned that my counterpart was making almost twice as much as me, and I was doing way more work, it was eye-opening. I didn't know any better coming out of college. And so once I learned that, I immediately figured out, okay, my next jobs, I've got to be more cognizant of, how much I'm actually getting paid. So, I started making sure I was doing my research on, okay, what does this job generally pay? And then compare that to what I was being offered, and just kind of stand my ground. And I continued to learn not to take the first offer that was put on the table, because I learned that a lot of my white male counterparts were making way more money. And some of them were, when if I would, talk to some of them before I took a position, I'd be like, okay, hey, this is a confidential conversation. Can you tell me how much you were offered? And if they tell me, and it was different than what I was being offered or what was being put on the table, I'm like, okay, no, I can't do that, because they do the same thing. And they're able to get everything in their contracts that they want. And again, I know that I've got to work twice as hard in this environment in order to, prove myself worthy of being there, which, makes no sense, but that's just where we are, and that's how they treat us. But, I know I have to work twice as hard. And if I'm going to work twice as hard, I definitely need twice as much money. But if I'm going to work the equivalent of what you're doing, I need to make the equivalent of what you're doing, because like I said, I mean, they go in and they say, okay, no, this is what I want to be paid. And I learned that I could do the same thing, and it's worked for me. It's worked very well. So we just have to learn to be advocates for ourselves and not take the first offer that's put on the table.
Awesome. Anybody else? Great. Well, I'm going to turn it over back to Mrs. Neal. We're coming in on an hour of this discussion. It just flew by. And so just amazing responses. It's no surprise to us that you guys have been as successful and have been deemed some leaders in our communities. You're definitely, the folks that we can take so much from and be able to garner some things from what you guys are doing and doing in our own families. And so we definitely commend you on your service, and also for your time tonight. Thank you so much. So I do want to turn it back over to Mrs. Neal for our final remarks.
Well, Kay said it all. I mean, I just want everybody to give you all a round of applause, because you all are phenomenal women. I always say we have the past, present, the present, the present, and the present future. Because I think we've covered it all. I mean, Congresswoman Johnson she was involved with the sit-ins during the civil rights movement and made something out of it. I mean, you have CaMia and Lisa, who are right now in public office as well, making a difference. And then you have Victoria, who's bringing up the ranks. I mean, president of the youth NAACP, and just all the things that she's doing right now. And let me tell you, Victoria, like I told you before, I have several young ladies in this area who are going to be involved with you in the Gwinnett chapter NAACP. They need to see that. They need to see your passion. And that's one thing that I've heard from each and every last one of you. Not only the confidence, but the passion behind everything that you all are doing. And I think by having that, people are automatically going to follow what you guys are doing or have done. One thing I said when BtheNow was formed, I never ran a nonprofit in my life, but I knew at the time I had to do something. And I jumped out there and, said, hey, let's see how this works. And I feel like we're making a difference. I truly do. And, you'll hear more about BtheNow soon. I mean, it's, you hear Black Lives Matter, you're gonna hear BtheNow all over the place. And I say that all the time because I'm truly confident in what we're doing. And I think it's necessary and it's a must for us to educate people, make sure that people are involved in the political process, the voting process to save our democracy. I tell people all the time, look, if you're not happy with your current situation, you need to change it by voting. If you're happy with your current situation, you need to vote so you can continue to be happy in your current situation. So that's all on us. And so the theme for BtheNow is always be educated, be engaged, be informed, be the now, meaning that if you're educated on the subject, if you're engaged and you're informed with that, you're always going to take action. And that's what BtheNow is all about. So, you know, before, you know, Big Al takes us out with some empowering women's music, so move it with some of these empowering women. I want Big Al to tell us where we can follow him and, you know, what he's doing currently. And then, yes, and as Kay said, don't forget to join our text. Just text BtheNow, the letter BtheNow to 55469. 55469, and we'll give you updates. So Big Al, you want to take us out? First, tell us where everybody can find you, and then take us out.
You can find me, excuse me, you can find me on twitch.tv/DJ Big Al 350QUE. You guys should tune in tonight. I think you'll really enjoy this. This is really for the grown folks. It's called the R&B Vibe Mondays. It's a raid train. I'm the last person on the raid train. And I go back, you know, give you some of the good Teddy Pendergrass, Earth, Wind, and Fire, all the good stuff. So, you know, come on in, check me out. On IG is Big Al 350. Twitter is Big Al 350. Facebook is Big Al Harper. So there I am. And we're going to go just like this.
Make sure to follow BtheNow on IG. It's BtheNow under IG and Facebook.
I'm taking my freedom, pulling it off the shelf, putting it on my chain.
All you ladies are very golden.
I'm taking my freedom, putting it in my car, wherever I choose to go, it won't take me far. I'm living my life like it's golden, living my life like it's golden, living my life like
Hey, Big Al, what time
it's
is the show?